Thinking of investing, working, or starting a business in the cannabis industry? We've got you covered right here on Plant Problems. Hosted by Tony Frischknecht, Plant Problems takes a different approach to cannabis than what you're seeing and hearing from the mainstream media. Come along with Tony and be in the know about how to invest, work, or start a cannabis business. Let's get the show started with your host, Tony Frischknecht.
Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you back to another show of Plant Problems. Thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to talk to you about association groups, why you need them, what they're good for, and how to find the right one. These are a great place for information, these groups. And over the last several years, there has been some ones that have been around since 2010. So they're working on a lot of the bills in Congress right now, and they're also working in your local community. The local community part, I didn't really find out until I experienced it myself. We are in such a fast-paced business. The cannabis sector, man, it just feels like you're running in light years. And there is a lot of information that's missed because of it. If you're at all been working on this the last year or two or the last 10, I think you understand that how essential this was for your survival. When medical was starting to become regulated in 2010 in the city of Denver, we had to keep up with the city and state, which you still have to do now. But really the only way to get that information was to be a part of a group, because you're running a business. You don't have time to go to all these meetings, city council meetings, your local meetings. There's a lot of these groups that are where they fit into stuff. Unless you have the money to hire somebody to specifically have this as your job, it's next to impossible to follow. Now, there's some groups out there that are working on it. I've actually got a podcast with one of them that's following regulations. So this is good. And we're starting to see more information like that. Of course, you can do Google searches, stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, it's easy to miss key things that are happening in your community, in your business community. That's why these are so important. Number 2, you're associating with business owners. They have great ideas. They're willing to share them. And that's a valuable point of an association. I think it's probably not thought about it nearly as much as it should be, because I still talk to a lot of guys and I don't hear that much discussions about associations. But especially when you're in the beginning stages, it's essential to your survival. For example, if there is some compliance information, for example, in Colorado, we had some packaging changes, and now all the edibles companies understood this, but I would say the good ones did. But there were a lot that failed to get this information in the right time period. Because what this forced a lot of these companies to do is change their packaging completely. Now, this is a couple of years ago, but you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars in inventory. Now is pretty much garbage. And a lot of these companies got this information a week before they were changing the regulations. You were up shit's creek. And if you weren't able to adjust in time, I'm sure there was a lot of guys out there that were like, well, we'll fix this as soon as we can. Just hoping and praying that they didn't get, I would say, caught off guard by the regulatory system. And some of the newer, go into that a little more depth, some of the newer states that are starting recreational, not everybody's right on top of it, so you might have a little bit of leeway. But I can't guarantee anything in your state. You're going to know that the best, or your legal counsel will probably be the best to ask that question. But that was one thing we worked through. We were honest and transparent with the city and state most of the time, and we were able to work through our issues. But sometimes they just draw a line in the sand and they say no. And it's pretty scary when that happens. But back to the association groups, a lot of these guys will have contacts with the higher ups. So they can take your information specifically, say Tom's dispensary. They can go, hey, we can go talk to the city council members or the enforcement agencies. We had a marijuana enforcement agency here in Denver. So I'm sure they're building something like that in your state. But they would go talk to him directly and say, hey, we've got Tom's dispensary down the street. He can be compliant. He's not able to switch everything over the 5th of the month, but he will be able to get it on the 10th of the month. This is just an example. And they would at least understand that the situation is going to be fixed right away and they're not hiding anything. You're dealing with a lot of ex-law enforcement guys that are going into these enforcement divisions. They're cops. And so how easy it is, or isn't, I should say, isn't able to talk yourself out of a speeding ticket, some of these guys just don't care. And what would normally be able to be renegotiated or negotiated in a business transaction, you can't negotiate with some of these guys. So unless you have some kind of waiver that you're able to produce and show them, it could cost you either a huge fine, it could cause you to get your license suspended, or potentially even revoked, depending on how big this infraction is. And the old saying, power in numbers, that's what an association group brings. The power to be able to say, we've got a group of individuals that want to work hand in hand to make our industry better. That brings a lot of clout to any situation. So whatever you're spending, I mean, just to give you some ideas, we were spending $100 on an association per month. We also had another big association that we were tied to that we were spending $2,000 a month. I don't think that's necessary now, but at the time, it was extremely necessary because we didn't have a whole lot of options. So we had smaller groups, so we had to come up with more capital to fund our group to be able to work with city and state and legislation so that we could make sure we had a say in, I guess that's number 4, having a say in where your business is going and how you can control it. Showing up one day and just realizing that you've got an extra 5% tax is crippling to a company that's already paying hundreds of thousands in taxes per year to city, state, and federal. You guys out there, we're paying federal tax. It sucks because we have no representation, but we're paying the taxes. These are all great points for joining an association group. And I find that there's a lot of people that think it's a waste of money when it's not. I learned a long time ago that if you want to be successful, get around successful people. Well, the movers and shakers in this business are going to be ones that are tied to these association groups and can create some amazing opportunities for you and your business. And if you are cheap about the situation and you think it's a waste of money, I would look at myself in the mirror and say, am I willing to invest in my business? Well, this is an investment. And everybody has different goals. You may have long-term and short-terms. Might have to see what this is about, but the beauty part about this is the association groups are usually only a monthly. You only have to dedicate to a month. Now you can pay annually. I know they do discounts of some sorts, but it's really not a lot of an investment when you look at that it could potentially save your business from so many disastrous situations. You know, I found so many times that the information was not being filtered down to the business owner. And that happens in so many industries. And that's why you see big ag. And that's why they have these industry groups, so that there's a voice and there is a place for the entrepreneur and small business owner to get solid information and understand, well, this is what I got to do to keep my business going and keep this afloat. And I would say the 5th thing about it that's great is you make some great friendships created. I still talk to a couple guys back when we were in the trenches. And these guys, at the time, they were the only ones that understood what I was going through because they were going through it too. And so just not being alone when you feel like your back's against the wall is huge because it is lonely at the top and it takes one to know one. And so, you know, I've received some long-term friendships through this, and I've got some amazing stuff that happened to me. This was back in 2012. I was on my way to an association meeting downtown Denver. And on my way to our weekly meeting, I had to stop and get some gas. So I'll back up just a little bit. This was a big meeting because we had found out that there was going to be a reporter there from Newsweek. I wanted to meet the people in the group. There was about 12 of us at the time. And ask us some questions, see what our association about, follow up, write a article on us. So it was really exciting. So I was really pumped to meet these guys, and I had to stop because I was so close to running out of gas. So there's a gas station right by my house. So I had changed out of my farmer clothes, I would call them. Changed out of my farmer clothes and put in some nice clothes. Quickly at home, hopped in my car. Shoot, I'm going to run out of gas before I even get downtown. And I only live a couple miles away from downtown, so it wasn't like it was a long distance. That's how low I was on gas. So, but I was running late. I was stressing out. So I was running. I stopped at this little gas station. It's got like 6 pumps at it right down the street from my house. And I'm walking, pull outside, hop out of my car, pop open the gas tank. Shoot, I gotta go inside because the credit card machine wasn't working. So I run inside, have him set my card, run back out, grab the gas pump, put it in my tank, and I start filling. I'm sitting there looking at my watch like, man, I'm like 10 minutes late now. I'm stressed out. I don't want to miss them because this is a big deal. So what seemed like an eternity was probably only 3 minutes because you know how fast it takes to fill your gas tank up. I fill my gas tank up, hook it back up to the pumps, and I'm kind of like in a quick stride up to the front door to sign my credit card statement so I can get the heck out of there and get down to the meeting. So the clerk hands me my credit card slip, and I sign it, send it to him, and turn around and walk about 4 steps out the door. As I'm walking out the door, I'm looking out the door, and I see this old gentleman. And he looked like he was probably homeless or at least halfway in between a home, halfway out. And I see him just pass out, falls over, hits his head on the trash can right at the front door. And I'm like, oh no, this guy just knocked himself out. There's a little bit of blood on the ground. He's passed out. And I'm just like, oh, I don't need this. I got to get to this meeting. And then the good part of me says, dude, you got to help. You're human. You got to help this guy out. So turn around, walk back in the doors, call 911. Somebody fell over and knocked himself out on the trash. The guy hands me the phone. I'm like, oh, great. Now I got to sit here. But of course, I went through it in my mind. You got to do this. You know, this is a human being. You need to take care of the situation before you take off to your meeting. So call the ambulance. They're asking me questions. I just send somebody down here. I'm telling the guy. And I get the ambulance called. And then I'm like, okay, I feel better. And I tell the guy up front, I'm looking at him, and I'm like, hey, buddy, you okay? And he's just kind of dazed out. And feeling whatever he was feeling. I don't know if he passed out because he was drunk or was sick, or I couldn't tell. But I just wanted to make sure somebody's coming. So somebody's coming. I go back in, hand the phone back to the guys as I heard the ambulance pull up. So met the guys, and they met the ambulance, the paramedics. Paramedics come over, look at him, and I was like, okay, I got to go. So at this time, I'm like 45 minutes late. Oh, jeez. What the heck is going on? I got to get to this meeting. So I get down to the meeting in one of the meeting rooms, big round table, and I look through the glass, and the shades were kind of drawn. And I'm like, shoot, they're in the meeting. Well, I had got there right when they were finished the meeting. I'm like, great, I just missed this whole deal. What the hell? You know, I missed the whole thing because I had to help this guy, and so I'm bummed about that. So my business partner he talked to the writer, the reporter. He was talking to him, and he said, hey, you want to come out and take some pictures at our grow? And I'm like, okay, that'd be cool. Yeah, you can come take a look. So the next day, meet him out at the grow site. Guy takes a bunch of pictures, and it's like, okay, this is awesome, whatever. He took some pictures with us, but they weren't showing our face. Back then, anytime anybody in the media, in the industry showed their face, they were always getting in trouble. So we didn't show our faces in this. Well, week goes by, the guy contacts us. Says, hey, I'm put some photos in the article. I can describe them to you, but I can't tell you exactly which ones we're going to put in. And I'm like, okay. So he's talking to me. He says, okay, well, I've got one of you, and your picture is on, your face is on it, but it's only showing like to your nose, underneath your nose. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm talking to my business partners like, hey, man, should I do this? Should I not? And I'm playing this whole like, well, I don't want to get in trouble, but it'd be really cool to be in a magazine, especially Newsweek, right? And so I come to the decision, all right, let's do it. So the next day he sends out, or it's actually 3 days later, so I'm talking to him on a Friday, and Monday comes around, and he sends out the article in October 2012. I'm looking through this article online because he sent me a digital copy, and I can't find it. And I go to the front again, and I'm looking at the front, and my face is on the cover of Newsweek. Blew my mind, everybody. I don't know what happened, and it was surreal. And then I go back to thinking, I was like, you know what? Had I not been a human being and really helped this person out, I may have not gotten this opportunity. Something happened. I was at the right place in the right time, and all of a sudden, my face is on Newsweek. And so it was huge. It took me several months to really even understand what happened. And it just goes to show you what kind of opportunities can be created in groups of people. So that's what I had to share today. Of course, I share a lot more of this in my book, From Black Market to the Man, 10 Steps to Becoming a Multimillionaire in the Legal Cannabis Industry. So please check it out on my website or on Amazon. And I hope you guys enjoyed my little story. And hopefully some of it was helpful for you guys. So I appreciate your time today, and that's it for now. Thanks, guys.
You've just listened to another insightful episode of Plant Problems. If you like what you heard so far, don't forget to tell your friends and colleagues. For additional resources or to leave a review, head over to plantproblems.com. Join us again next week on Plant Problems with Tony Frischknecht. We look forward to having conversations with you as we go along this journey.